Sons of the Forest has intrigued me from the start. I saw a few people playing it months ago and it hit early access, and it looked very interesting. The game is in its final update before it goes into 1.0 full release status in about a month and a half from the release of this video, so I thought it would be a good time to take my own visit to the forest and let you guys know my opinions. Is it worth your hard-earned cash? Let's take a look. I would equate Sons of the Forest to a Tarkov-esque like survival horror experience. All you get is the following intro, and then it's figure it out. After this, the game basically gives you no further direction. Unless you want to consult the brain trust on the interwebs, the island is yours to explore and figure out. The game takes place on a fictitious island in parts unknown, many years after the events of the original game, The Forest. It's your job to survive long enough to find out more about your mysterious new home, and if possible, the HVTs you were sent to find. First things first is looking at your inventory. I think the creative way that they lay out your inventory when you open up your backpack is refreshing. Everything has its place when you get later into the game, and it fills out quite nicely without being overcluttered. In the middle, there's a section where you can place items for crafting. Crafting is pretty extensive and also intuitive, which I enjoyed quite a bit. No searching obscure places for crafting recipes. Once you have a new item, new recipes unlock via the cogwheel in the upper right of the crafting area, telling you exactly what you need to get the job done. This makes one of the things that should be easy for you, well, easy. Because what you'll be taking part in most of the time, especially early on, will be combat. Combat is both easy and straightforward and punishing at the same time. Early on, you will likely just try and hack and slash your way to the finish line, but you'll figure out pretty quickly this is not the way. What you have to your advantage is speed. Success early comes from outmaneuvering your opponents versus trying to go toe-to-toe with the various cannibals you will face early on. There are way more of them than they are of you, and crafting a bow will be a game changer. Range combat is absolutely the way to go. Craft a bow and arrows early on and save yourself some headache and early deaths. Weapons you run across in the game include stick bows, compound bows, crossbows, pistols, shotguns, your knife, various axes, stun guns, a stun baton, to name some. Resources for these weapons are scarce depending on the level of effectiveness, so choose your weapon carefully for each encounter. One negative I will mention here is the various boxes that provide you ammunition and supplies resupply themselves magically every time you load in, so they're not as scarce as perhaps they should be. Enemies that you will face come mostly from two varieties: the cannibals that inhabit the island and the mutants that seem to have developed since your benefactors showed up and started screwing around. Cannibals are by far the most common enemy above the ground. They can be standard hack and slash with dodge and lunge mechanics, tanky red dudes, or giants that deal a ton of damage up close, or in the new update, a female character that would put Wolverine to shame. Worthy opponents that can certainly instill fear in the unprepared and weary wanderer, but nothing compared to the completely terrifying caves and their denizens. While you'll be attacked by them occasionally on the surface, entering a cave and trying to do battle by flamelight or even flashlight introduces a new level of terror. Most commonly, you will have to deal with a man-sized blind mutant that cannot see you, but if you make any sound, will pinpoint and attack. Other creatures to deal with will be a strange twin mutant that can climb walls, a giant maw creature that swings at you when you get close, a worm-like creature that does a ton of damage, and super creepy babies that jump at you and deal damage. A recommendation before you decide to venture into the depths? Craft some armor before you end up like me. Oh, and by the way, there are seasons. Don't be as surprised as I was when I woke up one day and there seemed to be a foot of snow on the ground. Winter is coming, and you should prepare accordingly. I built next to a lake with plentiful fish. Then it froze over. I guess I should have saved up some stockpiles. The base building system has been the biggest upgrade from the first game that I can see. It is nearly essential to put together some kind of defenses from a pretty early stage to keep going with your adventures. You can go from a simple tarp and stick shelter to a defensible base with walls and traps surrounding it to make life significantly easier to stockpile supplies. They can be destroyed by the native inhabitants of the island though, so choose your location and set up carefully. Or you can just go completely ham like my good friend Logan, who has zip lines from one side of the islands to the other, along with a base that looks more like something out of Lord of the Rings than a hovel to survive the next week. Luckily, you will have some help topside with two companions. Kelvin will be with you from the start and is actually super helpful. You can give him commands such as get logs, catch fish, maintain the base, and various other tasks that double the work and output for a solo player such as myself. Virginia is a bit skittish at first, but will eventually warm up to you and Kelvin and join you. While she may look a little unconventional, she is just as useful as Kelvin in combat. You can give her either the pistol or the shotgun, or both, and she is surprisingly accurate. There is no need to furnish her with any ammunition, though. That is the selling point. Although I warn you that she goes on walkabout in inopportune times, and you may be missing that crucial piece of gear you need to fend off an attack. She will generally follow you on your adventures, though, and she sometimes presents you with gifts. Berries and small animals mostly, although sometimes she gets hungry, too. The survival aspect of the game goes deep enough to cover the basics: food, water, and sleep. You can find various forms of food across the island to include MREs, energy bars, boxes of cereal, and items you have to catch and cook for yourself. Water can be from any source, and while not technically clean and will do some damage, you can also create rain catches to collect clean water. Sleep is what you might think. Sleeping in a structure helps with your bar more than sleeping in a stick tent will. In a pinch, you can get a short boost if you drink energy drinks or eat an energy bar that helps you and your stamina. If you are low on any of these things, your max stamina will suffer. You will not be able to sprint as far or swing your axe for as long unless you replenish your meters. You will not take damage or die, though, if any of these meters stay empty for any length of time, in my experience, though. So if you're looking for something that hardcore, maybe this isn't it. For me, the sound and graphics in this game are amazing. It goes hard trying to create that vibe that you are not supposed to be here and death is coming for you, especially in the cave systems. Maybe I'm just a big Nancy, but every time I go into a cave still, after 40 hours, the hair stands up on the back of my neck. The lighting effects from flashlights are extremely well done, and as soon as the red light on my flashlight starts to flash, the dread starts to creep in as I wonder, did I pack enough batteries? If I haven't rolled enough footage so far in this video to make that point, here's a little full sound and graphical experience in a cave. The overall story is very loosely put together. No spoilers here, but you could spend a ton of time on the island and never even look at or explore any of the story elements. If you do want to level up gear or start getting to the bottom of the insanity that started these abominations, though, you will eventually run into some of these story elements. This is something that I'm personally hoping they flesh out a lot more before the 1.0 release, because they could definitely use some improvement in this area. I have thoroughly enjoyed my stay in the forest. I have been on the edge of my seat for the entirety of my stay. While it isn't an on-rails set-piece type of survival horror game, the organic feel that the game creates, I feel takes this game to the next level. I love Resident Evil 4, for example, but you sort of knew what was coming. In this game, when you surface out of the water from one section of the cave to the other, you have no clue what to expect other than this may have been your last swim. I highly recommend this game for anyone that has a true outdoorsy survival itch to scratch and also loves the horror aspect of being attacked by terrifying stuff you can't see in the dark. Thanks for sticking with me to the end of this video, and if you appreciate the information and review content that I provide, please like and subscribe to the channel. The love everyone has shown since I started this channel has been amazing, and I can't thank each and every one of you enough for coming along on this journey with me. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.